The Seasons by James Thomson. Structure, Summary, Analysis. Hello and welcome to the discourse. James Thomson's The Seasons is a landmark work of 18th century poetry that revolutionized the literary depiction of nature. Composed in blank verse, the poem is divided into four parts: spring, summer, autumn, and winter, each exploring the beauty, power, and moral significance of the natural world. Unlike the rigid heroic couplets popular in early neoclassical poetry, Thomson's fluid, expansive style anticipates the emotional depth and descriptive richness of Romanticism. Blending scientific observation, pastoral tradition, and philosophical reflection, The Seasons presents nature not merely as a backdrop but as a dynamic, almost divine force. Thomson's detailed landscapes, from summer's thunderstorms to winter's frozen wastes, are infused with Deist reverence, suggesting a harmonious universe governed by a benevolent creator. Yet the poem also acknowledges nature's sublime terror, portraying storms, droughts, and blizzards as reminders of human vulnerability. Beyond its ecological vision, The Seasons incorporates narrative digressions such as the tragic tale of Celadon and Amelia in summer, or the redemptive hunting episode in winter, which deepen its emotional resonance. The speaker shifts between roles: a rapturous observer, a moralizing philosopher, and a compassionate chronicler of rural life. This multiplicity reflects Thomson's ambition to create an encyclopedic portrait of existence, where nature mirrors human joy, labor, and suffering. A bridge between Neoclassicism and Romanticism, The Seasons influenced generations of poets, from Wordsworth to Keats, who admired its sensory immediacy and emotional power. Its legacy endures as a foundational text in the literature of nature, celebrating the world's splendor while probing its mysteries. The Seasons was not published as a single, complete work from the outset. Instead, it was released in stages, with each seasonal section appearing separately before being revised, expanded, and compiled into the final unified poem. The first edition of Winter was published in March 1726 as a standalone poem of 405 lines. Thomson continued revising it, and in 1744, the final version of this part of the entire poem grew to 1069 lines. Summer was published in June 1727 with 1146 lines. It was expanded in later editions, reaching 1805 lines by 1744. First edition of Spring was published in April 1728 with 1082 lines. Later editions in 1730 and 1744 increased it to 1176 lines. The first edition of Autumn was published in June 1730 as part of the first complete Seasons collection, with 1269 lines. It too was slightly expanded in 1744 final version with 1373 lines. Winter 1726. Winter, the first published section of The Seasons, is a groundbreaking poem that transforms the harshness of winter into a meditation on nature's power, human suffering, and divine providence. Unlike the pastoral idealization common in earlier poetry, Thomson presents winter as both a destructive and awe-inspiring force, blending scientific observation, sublime imagery, and moral reflection. The poem opens with a bleak yet majestic depiction of the season's arrival, frost-laden winds, desolate landscapes, and the suffering of wildlife, before shifting to the scenes of human hardship, including shepherds lost in storms and villagers huddled for warmth. Yet, amid this brutality, Thomson finds spiritual grandeur, framing winter as part of a divine plan that ultimately leads to renewal. The poem explores the sublime in nature. Thomson's winter is not just cold, but terrifyingly magnificent, with storms that evoke Edmund Burke's later theories of sublime. Blizzards rage tremendous, and avalanches threaten alpine travelers, illustrating nature's indifference to human frailty. These passages reflect the era's growing fascination with nature's overwhelming power. The speaker depicts human vulnerability and resilience. The poem contrasts the suffering of the poor, freezing laborers, a half-starved widow, with the cozy comforts of the wealthy, critiquing social inequality. Yet, Thomson also celebrates resilience, as in the famous Hunt interlude, where villagers chase a hare through the snow, their communal joy defying the season's cruelty. Despite its grimness, winter is infused with Deist optimism. Thomson marvels at the science of snowflakes, a radiant waste of virgin snow, and frost patterns, seeing them as proof of a rational creator. The closing hymn, added in 1730, explicitly ties the cycle of seasons to God's benevolence. Thomson's blank verse, unrhymed iambic pentameter, allows for rhythmic flexibility, mirroring winter's unpredictability, from the slow creep of frost to the violent rush of storms. Juxtapositions of beauty and horror, example, the whitening landscape versus a frozen bird's death, heighten emotional impact. The poem shifts abruptly from descriptive passages to narratives like the tragic tale of a shepherd perishing in the snow, creating a mosaic of winter's effects. Summer 1727. Thomson's Summer is a rich and complex poetic exploration of nature's most vibrant yet volatile season. Published in 1727 as part of his larger work, The Seasons, this section presents summer not as a simple pastoral ideal, but as a dynamic force of both creation and destruction. Thomson masterfully captures the season's dual nature, its capacity for nurturing life while simultaneously unleashing devastating power. The poem moves through the arc of a summer day, from the golden promise of dawn to the terrifying majesty of noon storms before arriving at evening's peaceful resolution. Through this progression, Thomson examines humanity's relationship with nature's sublime forces while reflecting on divine providence and social realities. The poem's structure reveals Thomson's philosophical and artistic intentions, beginning with lush descriptions of morning's vitality, where the rosy-footed May brings blossoms and bird songs. Thomson establishes summer's generative power. However, this idyllic opening soon gives way to the oppressive heat of noon, where both animals and laborers suffer under the relentless sun. The dramatic centerpiece comes with the sudden summer storm, rendered with such vivid intensity that it prefigures Romanticism's fascination with nature's sublime terror. In one of the poem's most poignant moments, Thomson interrupts these natural observations with the tragic tale of Saladin and Amelia, whose pastoral romance ends abruptly when lightning strikes Amelia dead. This narrative interlude serves to heighten the emotional impact of nature's capricious power while questioning the justice of divine providence. Thomson's treatment of summer reflects several key enlightenment concerns while anticipating romantic sensibilities. His precise descriptions of natural phenomena, from the physics of light refraction to the mechanics of storm formation, demonstrate the period's scientific curiosity and Newtonian worldview. Yet, these empirical observations coexist with profound spiritual reflections as Thomson consistently frames nature's wonders as evidence of divine design. The poem's social commentary is equally significant, as Thomson contrasts the experiences of different classes during summer's extremes. Wealthy landowners enjoying shaded leisure while field workers endure the sun's brutal intensity. The poem weaves Georgic, pastoral, and narrative elements into a cohesive whole. Spring 1728. James Thomson's Spring presents the season as a dynamic rebirth of nature, blending scientific observation with philosophical reflection. As the third, published installment of The Seasons, this section departs from winter's harshness and summer's volatility to offer a more harmonious vision of nature's cycles. The poem unfolds through a series of carefully structured movements, beginning with the gentle thaw of winter's grip and progressing through the gradual awakening of plants, animals, and human communities. Thomson's meticulous descriptions of natural process, from the swelling of birds to the return of migratory birds, reveal both his Enlightenment era fascination with natural science and his Deist belief in a rationally ordered universe. The poem's middle sections introduce human elements through pastoral vignettes, most notably the courtship of Lavinia and Palemon, which ties nature's fertility to human social structures. A sudden storm interrupts this idyllic progression, serving as a reminder of nature's unpredictable power before the poem concludes with a hymn to divine providence. James Thomson's vivid depiction of the sheep shearing ritual, lines 400 to 450, transforms a mundane agricultural task into a poetic emblem of pastoral harmony and divine order. The scene unfolds as a carefully choreographed spectacle, where human labor, animal vitality, and seasonal renewal intersect. Thomson's description is rich with sensory detail, the whitening fleeces piling up, the busy hum of workers, and the sheep's patient submission to the shears, all rendered with a blend of Georgic realism and lyrical idealism. Thematically, spring explores the interconnectedness of physical and spiritual renewal. Thomson presents the season not merely as a climactic phenomenon, but as a cosmic principle of regeneration, where every element of nature participates in a grand, divinely orchestrated cycle. His treatment of agricultural labor, particularly his detailed accounts of ploughing and animal husbandry, elevates rural work to a sacred act that mirrors nature's own creative energies. The poem's scientific precision, evident in its cataloguing of flora and fauna and its explanations of meteorological phenomena, reflects the Enlightenment's empirical spirit while still maintaining a sense of wonder. This balance between reason and reverence creates a unique tension in the work, as Thomson simultaneously demystifies natural processes through explanation while celebrating their miraculous quality. The brief but violent storm passages introduces an important counterpoint to the prevailing mood of harmony, suggesting that even in this season of renewal, nature retains elements of sublime terror that defy complete human understanding. The work's influence on later poets is significant, particularly in its rejection of artificial pastoral conventions in favor of more authentic engagement with natural processes. Spring ultimately presents a vision of nature as both knowable through science and mysterious in its deeper significance, a dual perspective that would resonate throughout the Romantic period and beyond. Autumn 1730. Published in 1730 as the final installment of The Seasons, Autumn presents a season of both abundance and decay, where nature's generosity coexists with intimations of mortality. Unlike the vibrant renewal of spring or the violent sublimity of summer, autumn unfolds as a meditative reflection on cyclical change. The poem begins with the harvest's golden plenty, orchards heavy with fruit, fields yielding their bounty, and vineyards bursting with grapes. Thomson lingers on scenes of rural festivity, such as the grape-stomping revelry of jocund peasants, before shifting to the autumn's quieter, melancholic aspects, falling leaves, migrating birds, and the encroaching chill of winter. Thomson's autumn masterfully balances celebration and elegy, capturing the season's dual identity as both a climax and a decline. The harvest scenes pulse with Georgic energy, detailing the labor of reaping, pressing wine, and storing provisions, a testament to human ingenuity working in concert with nature's rhythms. Yet beneath this plenty lurks transience. The deep-dyed foliage of forests soon gives way to russet lawns, and the poem's tone darkens as storms and frosts foreshadow winter's approach. A notable digression recounts the story of Palamon, a generous landowner who aids a destitute family, embodying the season's ethos of charitable reflection. The Palamon episode injects moral weight, contrasting the season's material wealth with human vulnerability and advocating for compassion as a counter to nature's indifference. The poem closes with philosophical musings on time's passages, framing autumn as nature's gentle preparation for winter's sleep. Thomson's autumn bridges Thomson's Enlightenment era rationalism and pre-Romantic sensibility. Its celebration of rural labor aligns with Georgic tradition, while its melancholy anticipates Keats to autumn. So this is it for today. We will continue to discuss the history of English literature. Please stay connected with the discourse. Thanks and regards.